Okay, so real quick, what are the numbers? We got magic numbers, m and n, right? What do they have to multiply to? Positive 104, that's correct, positive 104. And they have to add to, good, and they add to negative 21. So when we factor this thing then, we have our template built. What has to go there and there, obviously? X is good. What we just need are the magic numbers. Now, let's play the sign game. If they multiply to a positive and add to a negative, what can you tell me about the signs? Both negative, good. And did anybody find the numbers? What are they? There you go, good. 13 and 8, and we're done. Awesome, okay, good. All right, so that's a harder version of factoring basic trinomials. These are basic because the coefficient of x squared is 1. Those are easier. Okay, today I want to show you a trick, and probably I'm just reviewing a trick that I'm sure you've learned, but it's been a while, for factoring trinomials where a is not equal to 1. Okay, and I'm going to skip this part up at the top. We'll talk more about that later. For now, we're going to review how to do slip and slide. You either called it slip and slide, probably, or bottoms up when you learned this in Algebra 1. Which one was it? Do you remember? Bottoms up. Depending on who you had, they might have called it bottoms up, might have called it slip and slide. It's the same thing, same process. So here's how it works. Now, this is real important. So first of all, when a cannot be factored out by the greatest common factor. So we always want to try to factor out a GCF, but you know, when we can't go any further, if we factor out a GCF, maybe we can't even do that, and I'm still stuck with a value of a that's not equal to 1, that's where we've got to do this slip and slide stuff that we're going to talk about. Okay? Here are the steps. Step 1 is you're going to slip a. You're going to slip a to the end of the trinomial and multiply by c. So let's take this example down here. Here's the trinomial that we're factoring. 6x squared plus 13x minus 28. Everybody agree there's nothing I can undistribute there? Not all of the terms have x's, so I can't undistribute an x. And the middle coefficient, b, is 13, and 13 is prime. So obviously nothing's going to divide into 13 except 1 and 13. So I'm stuck. I'm stuck with it the way it is. So for this one then, what's the number that I'm going to slide to the end? 6. Okay, so we're going to take this 6 and we're going to slide it to the end and multiply. And that's going to give us x squared plus 13x minus 6 times 28. What's 6 times 20? 120. 6 times 8? 120 plus 48 is? 168. There you go. So this is going to be a little bit tougher example, right? We've got to find magic numbers now that multiply to negative 168 and add to positive 13. Okay, there's a couple ways you can always, and I think what most people generally do is they try to find factors of the big number that add to the middle number. Factors of c that add to b. I don't know if you got one of those. That's okay to do, but sometimes it's a little bit harder to find factors of these big numbers. Now, here's a trick. This is a trick. This trick works whenever that's negative, right? So when I factor this thing, I know I'm going to end up with x and x, and because that's negative, the two numbers multiply to a negative and add to a positive. What can you tell me about the signs? One's positive and one's negative. Which one's bigger, the positive or the negative? The positive is, good. So that's telling me that the signs are going to be plus and minus. I've got opposite sign numbers. When you have opposite sign numbers, which only happens when that's negative, when c is negative, then you can take a different approach that I think is easier. How much bigger is the positive number than the negative number? What do you think? Let's get rid of earbuds, please. How much bigger? If the two numbers add to 13, 13 bigger, right? Give you some examples. Like, well, let's make a list. If I make a list of magic numbers, and we know that they have to add up to 13, right? What are some examples? Well, I could do something like positive 14 and negative 1, right? Adds to 13. I could do positive 15 and negative 2. In order to add up to 13, the positive one always has to be 13 bigger than the negative one. Okay, but what I really want to do here, I want to pick magic numbers that add up to 13, but we want to pick the right numbers that add up to 13 so that their product is equal to negative 168. So 14 times negative 1 is negative 14, not even close. 15 times negative 2 is negative 30, way too small. So what could you tell me about the numbers I've got to pick? Okay, so those are the right ones, but what if we didn't have them yet? What do I know about the numbers? If these are way too small, what do I probably need to do? I got to skip down the list quite a bit, don't I? So let's just say we skip down the list and we tried, how about 20, and then what would the other number be? Negative 7, good. If I multiply those, I'd get negative 140, almost there. But what if we got impatient and we said, let's skip up some more. I don't want to waste time. So we got 22 times negative 9, which would give us negative 198. So what's that tell us? Yeah, we skipped it. We skipped it. Now I have another question for you. Are we always guaranteed that magic numbers are going to exist? No. If they don't exist, it just means that this thing doesn't factor and we're done, right? It only factors if we can find magic numbers. So we got it then. If we try the one that we skipped, 21 and negative 8, sure enough, that gives us negative 168. So there's my magic numbers. X plus 21, x minus 8. There's step 2. Factor the new basic trinomial. Okay, we did that. Now step 3. Divide both your factors by the number that you slipped over in step 1. What was the number we slipped? 6. Okay. So then step 3. Do that. We're going to get x plus 21 divided by the number we slipped, and x minus 8 divided by the number that we slipped, which was a 6, right? Step 4 has 2 parts. We're going to reduce the fractions first of all. So we got to take each of those fractions, and it's possible that we can't reduce them sometimes, right? This time we can. What's the biggest number that divides into both 21 and 6? 3. So I could divide both the top and the bottom by 3. And what do I get? Jack, what do I get if I divide 21 over 6 by 3? 7 over 2. Good. And how about 8 over 6? What could I divide by? 2. And that gives me 4 over 3. Good. So there's part 1. We're going to reduce the fractions, and then here's the last step. The last step is we're going to slide any of the remaining denominators. So if there's a denominator, it's possible, like if I had something like 8 over 4, that would have just become a 2, and then there's no denominator to slide up, and I'm done. But if there's a denominator, I'm then going to slide that denominator up in front of the x, and I'm done. Okay, so my final answer then is 2x plus 7 times 3x minus 4. Okay? So again, the steps. Let's just rehearse those steps real quick. We slip a to the end, multiply by c. We factor that basic trinomial. We divide each of our magic numbers by a, the number that we slipped, and reduce the fractions, and then I slide any denominators up in front of the x, and I'm done. Okay? We're going to try one of these. We're going to do a little board work. So let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. We can go groups of 2. Just go groups of 2 on all the boards. And here's the problem you're going to work on. Right there. Factor that one. Okay, so walk me through the steps. Walk me through the steps here. Thomas, what am I slipping?
8.
I'm slipping an 8 to the end and multiplying by?
45. Negative 45.
Good. So I slip the 8 over there, and that's going to give me the basic. Go ahead. Okay, good. X squared plus 54x minus 360. So my magic numbers have to multiply to negative 360 and add, oh my gosh, and add to 54, what are they? 60 and negative 6. Yeah, that's it. So we factor the basic trinomial, and we get x plus 60 divided by x minus 6. I divide each magic number by 8. Good, because that's the number that I slipped. I reduce the fractions. So what's that give me when I reduce the fractions? 60 over 8 becomes what? 15 over 2, that reduces to 6 over 8 becomes 3 over 4. And then last step, if I have a denominator, I slide it up front, and I get the answer 2x plus 15 times 4x minus 3, right? Give me 1 to 5. How are we doing? Outstanding. Okay, here's the next one. Now, before you go, though, what do we always, let me get your attention. Hey, hold up. Let me get your attention, please. So what do we always try to do first when we're factoring? Greatest common factor. Is there anything that I could factor out here? 2x squared, couldn't I? I could undistribute a 2 from the numbers, and I could undistribute an x squared, right? Hey, let's get earbuds and phones should be away, please. Thank you. So we factor out a 2x squared, and what are we left with then? 6x squared, right? Because 2 times 6 is 12. X squared, because x squared times x squared is x to the 4th. What's my next term? Plus 11x minus 10. Good. So hold up. So when I factor this thing, my answer is going to have a 2x squared out front, but my goal is to take this purple trinomial and use slip and slide to break that apart, right? Yeah. Go. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Here we go. So let's just focus on, we're just going to focus on the purple part, right? And then at the end, we'll write our answer down. Of course, we got to include the 2x squared out front, but we're just factoring the purple trinomial using slip and slide. So Kathleen, what number are we going to slip to the end? What number did we slip and multiply? 6. Good. Tegan, what did we multiply it by? What did we multiply the 6 by? Negative 10, perfect. And then that gave us, when we did that, we got, not 6, we got x squared plus 11x minus 60, right? So our magic numbers then, Casey, what do our magic numbers have to multiply to? Okay, but you're right. But what do they? Hey, too much talking. Too much talking. Please stop.
Negative 60 and 11.
Good. Multiply to negative 60, add to 11. You found the magic numbers. They were
15 and negative 4.
okay. Good. All right, we good? Okay, so we're able to factor that basic trinomial. We found the magic numbers. And so we get x plus 15 times x minus 4. We're going to divide each magic number by 6. 6 is the number that we slipped. So we divide by 6. We're going to reduce the fractions. We reduce the fractions. And that gives us x plus 15 over 6 reduces to 5 over 2. 4 over 6 reduces to. Okay, last step, slide. Slide the 2 up front, slide the 3 up front. And what do we get from our purple part? So from the purple part, we end up getting 2x times. We done? Okay, good. We got to have this 2x squared. Now we're done, right? Good? Oh, underline it? Okay. Okay, that's it. I'm going to put the assignment up. You guys can work a little bit. I'll let you work on it tomorrow.